Let's get action.
So how have you used AI tools so far?
So how I've been using AI, especially with ChatGPT, is using it as a resource like how Google works and how the Wikipedia works. Like, you use that domain to get more extensive research, and especially with the new ChatGPT variations, that every single question that you ask that's academic or needs content in it will usually have reference points on it too. So it's like a new version of an easier way to get more research by using AI, I would say.
So would you want to be graded by AI?
So me personally, I feel like AI would grade really hard because it's going through such specific, distinctive details where like a human has flaws, and it would take just not find those. And also, I wouldn't want AI to grade mine because even though that AI is advanced, it's still in its early stages. So if it starts to hallucinate during the grading, or if it starts to use a little bit different doctrine to grade the paper of what the professor was, then I don't think it's a really fair example to use it. But if AI keeps progressing where it's more adaptive and going into more context clues of what it's trying to do, then I would say AI is probably the future of grading.
So what would you not use AI for?
Personally for me, a lot of like simple ones is like AI can't really like reconstruct a furnace, help out with car mechanic problems. There's more of like tangible things since AI is more of coding. But in ways I would use AI, would probably be with computer coding, because I heard that with AI there's a lot of computer coding that's get involved. But personally for me, as a business economic major and going under accounting numbers and bank reconciliation, that's when that hallucinative AI comes in, because it just puts in numbers and fixtures that look right but aren't right, like going through a balance sheet, and it will give you wrong numbers to the correct numbers that you had in your financial business. So
Yeah, I'm ready when you guys are.
So how has AI changed the way you learn or teach in the past year?
How has it changed the way I teach?
Sure.
It's changed the way I teach enormously, and I'm sad to say, something that's happening. I think, in a lot of classes, that I'm seeing more and more students turning in work that's clearly been generated by AI. Like when I assign students to do like a take-home paper or a writing assignment, that's work that's been generated by AI, and then in some cases not even edited. I'm seeing more and more students relying, I think, too heavily on AI. And I've noticed, and my colleagues have noticed, that more and more students are relying on large language models, specifically ChatGPT, Perplexity, tools like that, in their schoolwork, and I think it's depriving them of a learning opportunity.
How might AI impact journalism?
Well, AI is already having a huge impact on journalism, and I think there's two ways, principally, that it's having an impact. One is, of course, it makes the process of combing through documents and records very, very easy. And AI allows reporters to do that like almost instantaneously. It also makes it really easy to do what's called background research. Back when I was starting out, writing for newspapers and magazines, you had to physically go into a library that had microfilm of a newspaper to do research about, like, say, a political figure who was in the news. You'd have to go back and like locate all the articles that have been published about that figure, dredge them up. Of course, we've had online databases like Nexus Uni, ProQuest Major Dailies, etc. We've had those full text archives of certain major newspapers, right, and magazines for a while, and you can do keyword searches of them, but with AI, it's just going to be, it's possible to cover that material, summarize that material very quickly, right, at the push of a button, assuming that that material is available online somewhere or available, to the AI, whatever AI software. So it makes, on the one hand, it makes things very easy for news outlets, news websites, but there are problems. So first of all, it is absolutely the case that AI hallucinates and is very prone to misinformation. There's also a fair amount of evidence that bad human actors can, by interacting with AI chatbots and interacting with AI, bias AI. So I think it's going to have a really sort of disruptive effect. I think in general people believe it will have a disruptive effect on the media, but I think it will have an especially disruptive effect on the news media. And that brings me to misinformation. I know I mentioned it before, but AI is really prone to misinformation. I myself have asked ChatGPT for some financial information, and it has told me to invest in assets that do not exist, like in stocks and ETFs that don't exist. Bombarding AI software with racist memes, they can quite deliberately push AI to embrace racist myths. And then when people ask questions related to those to sort of topics that intersect with issues of race, the AI will reproduce those racist myths. It actually happened with XAI, with Grok, right, where these neo-Nazi white supremacists actually got the AI to declare that it was Mecha Hitler. So that's really concerning if AI is being used in journalism.
I hate it.
I see. All right. Are there any ethical concerns you see with AI?
Yes, lots of them. I think that when it comes to artwork, AI is only pulling from what it knows on the internet, so it's taking other people's artwork and then mushing it into its own artwork, so nothing is really original that it comes up with. And then even if you put the label this was AI generated, you're not crediting any of the sources that it's pulling from. So it's just stealing people's artwork.
As far as AI goes, what are the most immediate things that you see it affecting in your life, and do you see it building or hurting more?
I see it hurting people's patience. I think that we use AI we rely on it for everything, and then people are learning to not think for themselves anymore, and they'll just say I'm gonna brainstorm, I'll make AI do it, I'll make AI organize this thing for me, and then we're losing that whole part of the process, and the ideas aren't even yours anymore, and also you're losing fragments of your idea as it's going based on its memory, and you're not relying on your own memory. So I think patience in myself and other people is something that I've noticed is the first thing to go.
How do you think it's going to affect the arts and the future of that?
I think there's a huge oversaturation of media, because nowadays everyone thinks that they can be an artist with having a phone at their fingertips, and they say they're a photographer, and you can be, but then people are using AI to make artwork and just fill like platforms like Pinterest or like even like mock-up generators. Like I sometimes have found myself using mock-ups and then I'm like, this is really smooth. And then I realized that the mock-up is like an AI generated mock-up. So I think like platforms for artists are getting flooded with AI and it's kind of hard to tell. The more you look at it, you can tell, but it's getting harder to differentiate between like, did someone actually make this versus AI? And I think that there's like a trend of people going back to like really handmade things to show like, I actually made this myself and I didn't just use the computer.
AI is kind of looked out to be this like doomsday device, the end of all humanity. Do you think that a lot of people saying this are really blowing this out of proportion?
I think so. I think that the way that I look at AI is how when the calculator came out that everyone kind of freaked out and they're like, we're not going to need mathematicians anymore. And then it settled into its place as like a tool. And I think that right now everyone's just kind of pushing it to be like, what's everything that we can do with AI? And it's flooding into every industry and people are finding out where it's helpful and where it's not. And I think it's going to settle into its place. But we're at a point right now where everything is so oversaturated with AI because everyone wants to see, like, kind of push the limits with it. So I'm not really afraid of it, especially as an artist, because I know that it's not going to hold up long term as something. Like, I don't think I could ever be replaced by it.
Like I'm just casually in my living room?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Where, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a casual spot.
Wait, I'm gonna look again.
Huh?
So what classes do you teach?
Okay, I'm a lecturer here at Leadership, Ethics, and Values program in the School of Business and Entrepreneurship. So I teach leadership classes. I also teach in the Master of Organizational Leadership. And I also am the honors director. So I teach in honors as well.
What are your thoughts on students being graded by AI?
Starting with the big one. First of all, I think for whether it's the student side or faculty side, it's we can't take out the person or the human. So to me, that's important. But I do think there are ways to make things, whether it's rubric related or in terms of quantitative, that I think it really can help professors with if they're willing to use it. But I think for me personally, grading is an ongoing conversation. So it needs that human touch. But I've shared with you in class, I've been evaluating other faculty in terms of another position I have, and that assessment has been fascinating. And it has highlighted for me the lack of human-centered connection that's needed and graded if you're solely using AI. But I think for me, as a disclaimer, AI is a tool, how I look at it.
So what do you tell other professors about AI?
What I'm really appreciative at North Central is we have what's called the cafe, Dr. Lohman, and she's been really progressive in terms of recognizing the need for us to have conversations, not one time, but ongoing. And what I say in those conversations, I'm coming from a leadership business perspective, and businesses are using them, leaders are talking about it. So I don't want to be a hypocrite and say you can't use it when it's actually will help you. So I talk about AI literacy. I think everyone needs to be savvy about it and understand its process. But I also completely understand, based on your field, you're going to have different perspectives. So we can all agree to disagree, but also I think the recognition of if our numbers are high, like 80% of students are using it, then we need to be ahead of the curve, proactive in terms of reactive to that.
So if you could give students one piece of advice about using AI, what would it be?
Probably pausing instead of just the automatic knee-jerk. Everyone's doing it. It's so easy to use. I think that do they know how to use it? and are they thinking about why they're using it? I think it's easy to get caught up in it. You know, it's going so fast and change so fast, and that sense that everyone's doing it. I often think of it as any new tool that we have, you have to remember I'm here to better myself, and versus it's not just a transaction, and AI can make your class just a transaction. I'm just completing something versus learning. And the other thing from a leadership standpoint, what employers say is they put out great product, but then they can't actually do the work. They don't know how to do it. And so from my standpoint, that again echoes the transaction versus transformational. We want you to be driven by your human choices and that creativity and innovation you have, not to have that voice taken away. I think that's my caution.